Welcome back to the Mentality YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and enjoy the episode. So, as you guys can see, finally, we have made it into the same room.
Yeah, I can like reach out and touch him and stuff.
Doesn't mean you have to. It does not mean you have to. My concern with this is that what you don't see is what we cut out, and we have one camera angle now, so normally I can hide a bunch of cuts, but if you see a bunch of jump cuts, it's because, yeah, we said something politically incorrect.
It's because, let's be real, it's because I said something politically incorrect.
So in this episode, to celebrate us being together for the first time in 16 years, sorry, months, whatever the fuck.
Yes, I haven't seen Ben since I was 7.
You did the math. Is that why you were looking and pondering? You're doing 23 minus 16.
Math was never my strong suit.
So the reason I'm in Winnipeg, I think I mentioned it in the episode that was supposed to come out last week but came out on Tuesday, is I came out to surprise my family. And
boy, were they surprised.
They sure were.
They had moved.
Yeah. So knocked on the door and I actually got abducted, and this is where I live now. So no, I knocked on the door and I honestly thought that I'd given it away and that my parents actually knew, but they were just playing dumb. No, they had no fucking clue. So, fuck.
Off to a good start.
They had no idea that I was coming. My dad responded by saying, "What the fuck? You can decide the tone he said it in, whether it was good or bad. Leave a comment down below with whether you think I was disowned for that or not."
What the fuck? Holy shit! What the hell? You're home!
But yeah, it's interesting being back. The city is, as I expected, just as I left it.
Under construction.
Under construction. Every corner you turn, there's construction in this city right now. It's disgusting.
I mean, I just wish they would finish one rather than start 50 of them all at the same time and then have them all ongoing. Like, how about we start one and finish it and then move on to the next one? Like, instead of having, like, when I came over here today, it took me forever because every single street I turned on was under construction. It was either down to one lane or down to, had to turn off onto a different street. It was a complete nightmare.
Why don't you just run them down?
I mean, I could have. I was right in front of the hospital, so I could have done that, but...
There was a massive anti-vax protest outside of the hospital here yesterday. Like, I'm glad I came back, and then suddenly all of the mentalities from Alberta, yeah. It's like, fuck. It's kind of funny, actually, because I went to Vancouver last week, and the day we got there, they mandated masks. Go back to Calgary, obviously never going to mandate masks. It's, Alberta, even though we have, like, so many COVID cases right now. So then come here, and the day I come here, they mandate masks, so they know I'm coming.
They should mandate masks just so that no one has to look at my mustache.
I actually have a question. I told you had to come in a mask, but it had to be a Halloween mask. Where's the mask?
I mean, isn't this a lot scarier?
I find it funny looking back at who I was in high school. I was a very timid kid. Didn't say shit. And now I think my opinions matter so much I need to have a podcast. So that's some evolution, I guess. But
yeah, it's a 180, all right.
I mean, I think about the group of 3 of us that play video games, or we did play video games at one point pretty much every night. Now it's an effort to try and even coordinate a night every fucking month. But you guys knew each other. I didn't even know, like, I recognize the third friend in the group chat as we refer to him on the podcast. But I know what he looks like. I know who he is. I know his name. But I'm like, yeah, I think I had 0 interactions with this guy in the entirety of high school. I know I had a couple interactions with you, but they were very, like, in passing. So
yeah, it was just because I used to hang around with the IB kids sometimes.
The nerds. Say it.
No, because you guys were worse students than I was somehow.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
The kids that I hung around with from the IB group were like...
Names.
No, I'm not going that far in, but like, I remember thinking like, these really don't seem like the type of kids that need to be doing 5 hours of homework every night. These seem like the kind of kids that need to be taking up a trade. Meth. Or crystal meth, yeah. The two are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, there's some oddballs in that group, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the only times I really talked to Wolf in high school were I remember you would always make wild comments. I remember you used to like calling me Four Eyes, and I always insulted you back, but I don't remember what I said, and it was probably weaker because I was a bitch. But
It's funny that you say that because I don't remember calling you that. I'm sure I did.
I'm sure you did too. I remember it.
Even looking back, that's kind of a shitty joke for me to make based on my standards now. I gotta be, every time I open my mouth to speak, pretty much I have to ponder whether or not what I'm about to say is going to nuke the friendship.
Yeah, you know, I think I've heard far worse since then.
little insight into the workings of how my mind works.
There's nothing quite like hearing Wolf after Ben fucks up a heist for the 50th time and Grand Theft Auto 5.
Well, I mean, do we need to go back to the time where you moved the sub 2 inches to the left?
Fuck you, man. Wolf has this habit of making things happen and blaming them on me until I get very angry and just lose my shit.
I mean, I don't think I don't think that claim is unfounded, to be honest.
You know what? You've admitted that it was, you bastard.
I disagree.
Of course you do.
That would never hold up in court.
I lost sleep that night thinking about how to murder you.
No, you didn't. Shut the fuck up.
I don't think you heard the second half of that statement. I lost sleep that night thinking about how to murder you.
Yeah, no, I heard that.
Okay.
What, you think I have something to live for?
Oh, wonderful.
I'm sitting here doing a podcast at 3:00 on a Thursday afternoon with you. So, I mean,
That's okay.
it's all downhill from here, I think.
Well, the podcast will certainly be downhill from here until we get a sponsor. That's for sure.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to pay to have their name on this nugget?
I wrote on here bullying, but I don't know whether... I don't think I was bullied in school. I feel like if anything, it's more likely...
No, because you didn't spend enough time around me.
Well, I think you were probably like... I thought that you were a bully, and I was like, oh, this guy's actually not. He just...
Is an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was just so busy studying that I didn't even realize what was going on around me. So I was never focused on having friends per se in high school.
Well, that's the problem when you're in IB and you're doing 5 hours of homework every night.
If I did it.
Yeah, well,
I tended to play Minecraft more anyways.
that was the dumb thing is like I'd hang around with the IB kids and they'd be like, man, I did 4 hours of homework last night. Bro, I did 5 hours of homework last night. And I'm over there in the regular track on, I played video games all night.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember why we used to flex on that. It's like, yeah, I have no life and I have no will to have a life.
I think you guys just like to complain.
I still do, actually. I was also going to mention this, that it seems like on this podcast, we've only ever been on time for a recording.
Once.
The first episode. I was late the second episode. Wolf was late the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth episode.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's mostly me. Learning. I feel like I spent so much time studying now that, like, basically I was promised that I was going to get an increase in my marks through going through IB. And I didn't. I had the worst fucking average of any year in the 12th grade. And then they bumped my average up by like 5%. I'm like, great. This is still lower than it would have been if I'd gone through the regular program. So I couldn't get into certain universities because of it. It was kind of bullshit. I just wasted 4 years studying to get nothing. The fuck?
So big time regrets then.
Actually, I did get one thing. I got to get off school a month early. Like, we were done end of May instead of end of June. That was pretty sick. That just led to me partying a lot.
Yeah, I'll never forget your cocaine and dollhouses phase.
What?
So you don't even remember it.
What did you just say, though? Dollhouses?
Yeah, cocaine and dollhouses.
Why? What? Why do those go together? How do those go together?
For the cultured viewers in the audience, they'll be able to pick out that that's another Family Guy reference.
Sooner I can get back to my cocaine and dollhouses.
You brought up last episode, 2 episodes ago, Bacardi 151.
Oh, 151 proof, yeah.
We gotta relive that. That was the first thing I ever drank ever in my entire
I've
life.
never had it, but I believe what I said was I had a friend in school who was so concerned about getting a beer belly that he drank exclusively 151 proof.
Fucking so gross, man.
Exclusively. Like, that was it.
Like, just
As far as I know,
straight?
that was... Yeah, I think so.
fuck.
What would you even mix that with?
Anything.
Anything? Yeah, I was really simple for... I either liked beer or like a rum and coke.
I only started liking beer when I found Bud Light.
Oh, it's
Which
like the worst.
I had one a few months ago, and I'm like, why the fuck did I ever drink this?
Why
It's
would you
literally
ever drink
water.
that? The only time I ever had a Bud Light was when I was at a strip club.
I've never been to a strip club ever.
I got dragged to one kicking and screaming because I was like,
But were you though?
literally, like I was out with a friend of mine and we were joking around and we happened to be in the area of one, and he's like, oh, I shouldn't have said, but I was like, I've never been to a strip club. And he's like, oh, we're going to take you to a strip club then. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to a strip club. And he's like, no, we're going. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to a fucking strip club. And long story short, we ended up at a strip club on a Tuesday night.
Oh God,
There was like 3 people in there.
that's even weirder.
It was I thought I was having a fever dream. Like I walk in and there's like, they scan your ID at the door. We pay our like $8 cover, whatever the fuck it was. And
$8 on
I don't remember what
Tuesday?
it was. It was, I made my friend pay for it. I'm like, you taking me here, you're paying for my cover. And I walk in and there's like a stripper lying on the bar, like on her phone. And I didn't think she was real when I walked in. I'm like, there's no way that somebody would just be lying there. But no, there was a stripper just lying on top of the bar on her phone. And like, I know, I was sitting there like, this is the weirdest fucking thing.
Where was it? What was it called?
Solid Gold is the name of the club.
I had a friend who tried to convince me to go somewhere, and he said he really wanted to go to this club, and I'm like, it's a Thursday night. Clubs aren't open on Thursdays.
Well, they're open.
And he's like, well, no, you want to come to a club. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to pick up what you're putting down. I'm good, actually. Explain to me how I'm going to explain this one to my girlfriend tomorrow morning. Well, don't tell her. I'm like, okay, well, that also assumes that I want to go to a strip club. So I kept saying that I was on my way. I never went. He was quite frustrated about that one afterwards, and I can't blame him, but hey.
Yeah, Ben's cat almost fucking destroyed mine before we started recording.
I wish I'd recorded that.
I left it on the floor for 2 seconds. All of a sudden, I hear this like rapid clacking of the keyboard, and I look down, and the cat's like scratching the shit out of my fucking keys.
I'm not liable for any damage to your belongings while you're here. I think she's actually sitting right outside the door right now. That shadow looks slightly suspicious.
Well, she can't get at my laptop from up there.
But yeah, 151. We brought that up a little bit. That was the first thing I ever drank. I never had it again because it was fucking disgusting. Then I got through what did I go through? Oh, vodka shot phase. I liked to drink. I'd bring a bottle of vodka and just drink it straight out of the bottle throughout the night. That was a weird phase. I thought I looked so cool. Let me tell you, I looked like a fucking whack job. But I didn't want to. I was going through like a weird phase where I didn't want to I didn't like beer and I didn't like coolers. And I had this phase of like just liking vodka shots. I can't drink vodka anymore. Tequila's even pushing it for me now. But yeah, that was sort of my progression. And then I found craft beer, and I'm suddenly now a big beer guy. But
Yeah, Ben's one of those guys now.
yeah, well, hey, at least it tastes good as it goes down. I had a fair few of them last night. What about you? When did you start your drinking addiction? I mean,
Addiction, yeah.
habits.
No, I didn't drink all through high school at all. Like my first beer was Grad.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, literally my first beer. I wasn't I was 17, so I couldn't even buy it. I had to get a friend of mine to buy it for me.
Same.
And yeah, so that was my first beer, and it took me probably an hour to drink that thing. Because again, it's an acquired taste. It's not really something you start out like. Same with coffee. I never liked coffee until I started drinking it regularly, which is funny that you power through that. You're like, this is terrible, but I'm going to keep drinking it. And now I can't not drink it or I get headaches. But
I wonder why people do that. Like, what made us as a society decide that even though it tastes really bad at first, we have to keep drinking it until we start to like it?
well, that's the thing that I don't understand about cigarettes. Because every person that smokes always says the first one makes them feel like they're hacking up a lung and like can't breathe, but then they keep doing it.
I used to
Especially
like
in
them when I was
Canada,
drunk.
especially in Canada when they cost like $60 a carton or something.
It's expensive,
Yeah, because it's taxed like fuck.
which is probably good because, I mean,
Yeah, well, I just never understood why people that I was in high school with, like, what these do to you, you know how expensive they are, but you still choose to do it.
I don't understand how people that we went to high school with were able to afford it. Because half of them didn't have jobs, and they're out here buying cigarettes like every fucking, like, where were they getting them from? Because just because they're coming from a street guy, like someone who gets them from a connection or whatever, it doesn't mean they're cheaper.
No.
Even if you get them from like a reservation, you still like pay they charge you the same amount, but they just don't pay taxes on it.
No, you do.
Well, if you can get
Like
them,
if you buy gas on a reservation, the only way you don't pay taxes if you're indigenous.
well, like they don't have to pay the taxes though as a business.
Right.
So even though they'll charge you for the taxes, they don't actually have to pay them. So it just makes the business more money, which is cool. But it's not like they're like, oh, we're just gonna discount it, so it's $5.
No, it's expensive.
They're actually ridiculously cheap, but taxes make them very expensive.
Well, that was the point. Same with like chewing tobacco here. Like a tin of chewing tobacco is like $30, and that same tin in the States is like $3.
Yeah, it's like literally like 95% tax.
Like you could get a log in the States for probably less than what you'd pay for a tin here.
How I know you said at one point you told me a story about chewing tobacco. I had never tried it. I don't ever want to.
I tried it, I think 3 times, twice. Once with like the loose stuff, which was terrible because I couldn't like. The thing with the loose stuff is you have to keep it all in one place in your mouth, and I couldn't. Probably because I'd never done it before. So like I put it in the spot like in between my cheek and gum, but it like got all over my mouth and like under my tongue and stuff, and that was not fun.
I've heard it's an acquired taste. You just gotta power through it.
You know what? The taste wasn't awful. Like you can get flavored ones, like mint and stuff. And then I tried the pouches were a lot easier because it's all in like a little pouch, so it stays in place. And you get kind of like a head rock from it, but at the same point, you're like, if I keep doing this, I'm gonna get mouth cancer. So, you know.
Yeah, I knew people who did the like they had the pouches and stuff. And
Yeah.
it still hasn't appealed to me because all I can think about is how much it fucks up your mouth. And I have relatively white teeth. I'd like to keep it that way myself.
It was mostly hockey players in high school that were doing it. They loved that stuff. I don't know why it became such a hockey thing, but yeah, it seemed like most of the people I knew that did it regularly were hockey players. And yeah, it's definitely not as bad as smoking. Like smoking is way worse for you, but I just didn't like plus you have to spit all the time, so it's kind of a gross habit to do.
Pretty gross.
So.
I kind of understand e-cigarettes and vapes and stuff because they were super cheap when we were in high school. So to get your buddy who's 18 to go and get one was easy, but like affording cigarettes and stuff, they get really fucking expensive. So I understand why that became a big thing.
Well, I knew people that just stole e-cigarettes too.
Seriously.
Yeah.
From where? Like 7-Eleven and shit?
Or Rexall.
Because I thought they were always behind the counter.
I don't know if that's what they told me. They're like, I just stole it. I'm like, okay. But
I don't know. You know, here's the other thing. This isn't on the script because I didn't even think about it. But someone who I knew in high school, she would talk about like stealing stuff from Walmart all the time and stealing stuff from here and there. And I'm like, the concept of doing that has never appealed to me in any way. And like, I see people on Twitter who are like, oh, you should steal from Walmart today because they're a massive corporation. I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to say, but like, I have never in my entire life thought that taking something from someone else without a proper exchange, like give me this for this, whether it's like, I'll give you a guitar for a lamp, something like that. You shouldn't just take shit from people, in my opinion. And I've never ever stolen anything in my entire life. That's not a lie, just so I'm like politically accurate, but like I just never have. I have no desire to, so I don't get that.
yeah, no, I never understood it either. Because like, yeah, okay, sure, Walmart's a huge corporation. Doesn't change the fact that if you get caught shoplifting, you know, you're going to get either banned or they're going to call the cops and you're going to get charged with petty theft and then you're going to have a record. So like, yeah, it's really not worth it to me.
And granted, Walmart used to be really easy to steal from, and now they check your receipts, don't they, here?
I never go to Walmart, honestly. The only time I've ever gone to Walmart in recent years was like looking for baseball cards. So
I grocery shop at Walmart. It's cheap. But yeah, I remember because I used to work right next to a Walmart, so I'd spend a lot more time there, and they used to check my receipt every time I'd leave. But they don't do that in Alberta, ever. Which is weird. I don't understand what the difference is. People will still steal. Doesn't matter where you are, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. E-cigarettes I have like nearly everyone our age in my family does. And I'm like the one person that doesn't. And I've almost bought one at one point because I thought it was a good idea and I didn't, thankfully. But like, I don't get the appeal. They're no better.
No, they have their own problems. Like they still can fuck your lungs up and cause problems. Not, I mean, you might not get lung cancer or anything, but they still. I think it's called popcorn lung.
Yeah.
You can get that shit. So it just. That's part of the reason I never tried marijuana.
Right.
Marijuana makes me sound like a
Cannabis.
Kush. The part of the reason weed never really appealed to me was that I didn't like the idea of like inhaling something into my lungs.
Right. I honestly, I think my biggest phase of smoking weed was like when I was 19. There was two. When I was 19, and like last October, I was smoking a decent amount of weed, like probably. And by decent, I mean like 5 joints a week, which is like 1 a day, maybe even if that, which is the most I've ever smoked. But I don't know. I haven't smoked a joint. I took 1 puff off of a joint earlier this week because my dad offered it to me, and I took 1 puff off of a joint in June, and that's all I've smoked this year. I get it. I understand there's risks when I was smoking it, but it's just not my type of thing. Anything in this world has a risk. Like you could search anything and it's a fucking carcinogen, I guess. So
well, everything. I mean, I've read that the caramel color in soda is a carcinogen. So
caramel color in soda?
That's the stuff that makes Coke brown.
Oh,
Apparently that's a carcinogen. So
I think everything is.
I think yeah,
Like
there's nothing really good for you. I mean, processed foods and artificial ingredients and everything, it's become so prevalent that I mean you'd really have to read the fucking labels if you're trying to avoid all that stuff.
Yeah.
Preservatives and everything, none of it's good for you.
Why do I care about carcinogens when already 1 in every 3 people is going to get cancer anyway? So like,
well, yeah, like if you live long enough, you'll get everything. Like
Yeah.
I think it's been proven now that as a man, if you live past a certain age, you will get prostate cancer.
yeah. So I mean,
It doesn't, like if you make it to 90, you're going to end up with it doesn't matter what you did, you're going to get prostate cancer. So
I took an approach a few years ago that after a certain amount of time, we're all eventually going to encounter something that will cause us harm, and what the fuck are we gonna do about it? I mean, now that 5G is causing like abortions and stuff to happen. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say that sounds completely wrong.
But I don't know, like, what do we expect? We surround ourselves with fucking computers. There's 2 computers in here. I have a mic right up to my fucking face. I have no idea what that mic does.
We each got phones in our pockets.
Literally. And I don't think, like, there's going to be radiation. So I understand why, like, I guess smoking is, well, not I guess, and no smoking is bad. But ultimately, I guess we're all exposing ourselves to different levels of risk in different scenarios, right? So I guess you could justify it like that. But I don't know if that's a strong justification, per se. Let's talk about cocaine and dollhouses one more time, please.
Okay.
The concept of doing lines off the table of the dollhouse in the kitchen.
No, he was on the floor.
No, that would have been funnier, I think.
Oh, well.
The last topic we wanted to talk about in this episode, moving on, is we talked a bit about university in the first episode, but coming off this slight chat about high school and kind of the stuff that you're exposed to in high school, I think one thing this episode is, I'm not going to say targeted, but like it's definitely meant for people who are in high school, people who might not like get the outside perspective after they left. But so if you're in high school, we decided this episode, I decided actually, I'm going to take full credit for this, we should talk about gap years. Because I don't know about you, but I wish I would have taken one, because it would have probably meant that I hadn't have wasted the $5,000 I wasted on university.
Yeah. We've talked about it before, so I won't go super into it, but I went to university for 3 years, which was 3 years too long. And I should have, I never wanted to go out of high school. I wanted to take a gap year. And the way it played out was just that my parents were paying for my schooling and they didn't give me a choice. They just said, you're going. And even though I objected and said, I don't know what I want to do, this seems like a bad idea, they decided I was going, so I went. And I should have dropped out after the first year, but I'm not clever enough to make that decision. So 2 more years laid ahead of me. And then at that point I was like, okay, I still don't know what I want to do. I've wasted a good chunk of my college fund. It's time to take a step back and reevaluate. And I've been out of school for a couple of years now.
My dad had always said that I shouldn't take a gap year because it's going to mean that I don't go back. And for me, that probably would have would have been the best thing, because I guess there's something to be said about what I learned about like who I am and what I want to do by not doing something I enjoyed in university, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I should have to do it again, or like go back to school, pay for school to find out, pay $5,000 to find out what I don't like. I probably could have found that out in a gap year, but granted, my gap year probably would have led to choices that wouldn't have gotten me anywhere in my life anyways. So I don't know. I would have preferred to have taken a gap year and traveled a little bit, but oh well, it is what it is. Life is life, and I didn't, but I strongly recommend them if you have a plan.
Yeah, that was the same thing, was that my mom took a gap year, and I don't know that, I think it was either she didn't go back or she didn't go back for a while after that. So that's why she didn't want me taking one, was because she was concerned that I would never go.
Right.
But again, like my plan out of high school was I wanted to take some time off from work and make some money. And then I found after 3 years of university, after 3 years of, skating by and getting some good marks, some not so good marks, and just hating everything, I was completely miserable after 3 years in university, and it killed all motivation that I had to do anything pretty much after that.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I by the time I, dragged myself out of university after 3 years of just abject failure, and well, not abject failure, it felt like that though, and I just was like, I have no idea what I want to do, but I know I don't want to do anything for a while.
Right. I think for me, I was so bored in university because I was not enjoying it, that I skipped like nearly every single fucking class. That's what I'm most frustrated about looking back, because that was a waste of money, moreover than anything else. Like, I'm still paying for that, and I'm still paying for the classes that I skipped. So
Yeah.
not fun.
It's like paying for Netflix and never using it.
Basically. And over like 50 years, you paid like $15 a month and you didn't watch a single thing. I don't know. I did that for a while, actually. I had an Amazon Prime account and a Netflix that I forgot to cancel. So I just kept billing and billing and billing and billing, as they do.
Those recurring billings. Whoa.
Gotta love it.
It's a real kick in the nuts when you open up your credit card statement.
Who won the Mayweather-Logan fight?
Oh, no. Well, that never happened, did it?
Mayweather-Logan Paul?
That didn't happen, did it? It was Mayweather and McGregor.
No, I'm talking about Logan Paul when he fought Floyd Mayweather like a month ago.
Logan Paul fought Floyd Mayweather?
Yes.
When did that? I don't remember seeing any of that.
And Floyd Mayweather was like, oh yeah, these Paul brothers, they're not a force to be reckoned with. They're good at boxing.
I remember them talking about it. I didn't know it actually happened.
Yeah, man, it happened like a couple months ago. Probably like
I gotta
June.
figure there's no way Floyd lost to him.
Well, it was exhibition, so no one really won or lost.
Oh, wasn't it the one where they called it a draw or something? Where they actually, I think I might remember this now, but I feel like, because I remember Logan had Mike Tyson on his podcast, because he was asking him, he's like, "Do you think there's any chance I can beat Floyd?" And Mike's like, "Nah." Because he said, he's like, "Yeah, I've heard about Floyd that he doesn't have any vices, like he doesn't drink or do any of that." And Mike's like, "No, his vice is that he's in the gym. Like, he retired from boxing, but he never stopped going to the gym."
That's fucking terrifying.
He kept training like he was still boxing. So they're like, yeah, it's not like he's gonna have to like come out of retirement and like really work at it. He's still at the same level that he was when he retired, because he's never stopped going to the gym, because that's the only thing he knew how to do, really.
Floyd Mayweather's a gym bro. Now announcing Mentality Boxing, Wolf and I versus...
Yeah, me and Ben in an exhibition boxing match.
I was going to say we'll do duos. It's like 4 people in the ring. One takes
So
one.
it's going to be wrestling then. It's not going to be boxing, tag team wrestling.
Yeah, everyone does the Logan Paul and all them. They do the boxing, where our thing's going to be wrestling. That's going to take us to the top.
Did you watch wrestling growing up?
This is the first of a few episodes we're going to be doing here in Winnipeg, sitting side by side. Hopefully I'll be able to make it back after that, and we can do some more. But at least for the next few weeks, we're going to be in person, sitting here chatting, for better or for worse. So make sure you follow, subscribe, like, do all that shit. And all right, until next week. Bye.